Okay, I think we're live now. So yeah, welcome everybody. Welcome everybody. If you're watching this live, good to see you. Well, if you're in the chat, give me a wave. So yeah, welcome to this lovely live stream event we're going to have for High Noon. Title being Courage, Becoming Lionhearts. Yeah, we really want to post this little live stream event in preparation for the upcoming cycle of Core. Hopefully many people doing their best to be courageous on their matching and blessing journey. And I wanted to do this not alone. I don't like doing things alone. I like having my buddies next to me when I do things. So I wanted to welcome up two strong Lionhearts, people I think are very courageous brothers who I love chatting with. And you have heard from us before together. So this is a comeback with this trio of brothers. So I want to welcome to the stage Robert and Marco. Hey guys.
What's up, bro? Nice to see you.
Good. I don't want to ask how are you doing, because that's kind of a basic question. I do want to ask, what's the most interesting thing that's happened this week to you guys?
Damn, this week.
Okay, actually, for me, this is gonna sound funny, but right now I'm programming a circuit board, and after hours of work, it finally works, and it's a very simple program, but I'm so surprised, and it's just so good actually that it works. For me, honestly, for me, this is the most exciting thing that happened.
Yeah, I don't know. I think my week was pretty basic. I mean, one good thing that happened today, I was training, and usually I don't really get a lot of sprinting time because of injuries and stuff. But now that my body is doing good, I could actually sprint today, and I really enjoy that. So yeah, that was something good this week.
Sounds nice. Sounds good. I carved a pumpkin last night, so I think that's probably the most interesting thing that I did. Met up in London for, we call it Conversation Cafe. We have some very eager young adults organizing some get-togethers and just some social gatherings in London. And yeah, we carved some pumpkins, so that's quite fun. So yeah, anyway, I want to dive into this lovely topic with you guys. Courage. It's one of the 5 High Noon virtues, and it's kind of become a bit of a funny thing. Whenever we say, does anyone know the 5 High Noon virtues? Everyone I know at least knows the 5 High Noon virtues by now. At least the people I communicate with. Of course, there are people out there who don't know all of them. So if you want to know, it's courage, honesty, integrity, accountability, and grace. And courage is usually used at the beginning, or sometimes at the beginning, as like the first step, right? You have to be courageous in order to be honest. You have to be courageous in order to have grace, and you have to be courageous to have accountability. But funny enough, I find that this virtue is not always talked about so much in our content, the virtue of courage. But I think it's quite an interesting and quite an important virtue. Bravery is talked about a lot in the sense of epic tales. We're all fans of Lord of the Rings, and as a kid I used to read the Chronicles of Narnia, and there's this themes of friendship and bravery. Harry Potter as well. The kind of courage is the motto in sense of the Gryffindor house. So courage is quite an important virtue, not just in High Noon, but also in all stories, I find. So I want to dive into this topic as well because it takes a lot of courage, I think, in the matching and blessing journey. And the 3 of us here, still single, but that's actually quite a bonus because the people that are watching this can relate to our story right now, I feel. What are the things we're facing? So I just want to start with a basic question, actually, because courage is defined as facing your fears. So I want to know, what are your fears? What do you guys fear in your life on a day-to-day basis? Yeah, let's get into that.
I can start actually. Honestly, I think in my life, most of the things that I have been doing for a long time, those are obviously not scary anymore. So I've done a lot of public speaking, for example, and that's just not really that scary for me. Of course, depends the situation, but it's just not that scary. And I find it very interesting that I start to realize that the simple things in life are sometimes even more scarier. And one of them for me is definitely university, because I want to perform well. I want to do things well, and it's a high demand job, basically, actually, almost. Uh, and since it's so important, I feel that I want to even perform even better, right? And so it's scary that I won't be able to achieve that. Um, but even simpler things that I actually also notice, because I go to many carp events that we have here in Hungary, and sometimes I it's funny that it's scary to go up to a person to talk.
Mm.
I'm usually not the person who initiates conversations. I'm good at talking after the conversation has started, but it has to start. And so I think these kind of simpler things are 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 what I'm sometimes afraid of. And I think it's very normal, actually. And it's, I think, also very important to see this and acknowledge that, okay, so these are the stuff that are harder, or yeah, where I feel fear.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I think I can go next then. I think in general, what I fear the most is probably failing, and this comes to many areas of my life, in faith, in my track and field career, in many cases, because I don't know, I always felt like this desire, and I always publicly, claim of striving for quite high goals, high ideals, and just failing or like letting down the people that are depending on me as well, and the people that trusted in me, the people that supported me, just letting them down is probably what I fear the most, like not being able to basically achieve or stay in the standard that I set. Also, maybe like more on a day-to-day life basis, I'd say I'm also quite, I mean, people see me as an extrovert, but it's also very hard for me to start conversations. I feel so uncomfortable just starting a conversation. I mean, now I think I got better at it, but definitely when I was, I mean, even Marco can attest to this, when I was 13, 14, 15 years old, oh, I was so bad at like just being social. And yeah, so this is definitely one of the also fears I have, of just, yeah, just starting conversations, just being open to people in the beginning, because I feel like some of it is rooted in just bad experiences in the past, where I trusted some people and that backfired on me, and so it began like this snowball effect of me not really trusting people anymore, and so it was harder and harder to open up to people or to just be myself. So this is probably one of the reasons why that happened. But yeah, definitely still till this day, it sometimes just haunts me and makes me unable to just be myself instantly when I'm talking one on one to someone. I kind of hold myself back. Yeah.
Mm. I can really relate with fear of failure. I've always had that, actually. Um, but it does trigger a question within me, which is, does that come from a previous experience you've had of failing? Because I think that this is quite a common fear of others of failing. Like, was there an experience that maybe you had that caused that fear, or was that just kind of always been there as maybe in a sense, a fear that's not logical, but it's just there.
Mm. I feel like it was just all because I don't really know a period where I would say that I failed, like completely just gave up on something and just failed. But just, yeah, just in general, my whole life, because I feel like I've been always shooting to very, high places, and I always demand a lot out of myself, and I know some people rely on that, and some people trust in that, and some people support me in that as well, like spend their money so I could go towards that path. And just the thought of, then just failing at that and then letting them down is just, yeah, kind of, because it's not like I will suffer because of it, or not only I will suffer because of it, but also someone else will suffer if I fail. So that's like the fear of hurting someone else because of my inability to succeed.
Mm. Yeah, that's very understandable. Actually, my answer is kind of a mix of both of your answers in a way, because yeah, like I said, I also have a big fear of failing. But I think on a deeper level, it's the fear of being abandoned, or not having anyone who cares about me, or not receiving love. And even though I'm a huge extrovert, it's still, it can be quite awkward to connect with people in a crowd. I much kind of prefer small groups, actually, to then, having to approach people who are strangers. I think also because just it's difficult to know if someone's going to like you or not. And I think everyone's had their experiences with friendships in the past, from being a young child through teenagehood, and we're now in this kind of nice stage of being young adults, and we're a bit more free to enjoy fun time with our friends. We don't have kids to look after, all that kind of stuff right now. But still, there's difficulties, I think, with friendships, and I have some scars from the past when it comes to friendships. I think everyone does. They get hurt by a friend, or they have a bad experience, and so I think a lot of my fear comes from this feeling of, yeah, letting people down, but also I guess having other people let me down as well. It's going to be scary to open my heart to somebody that I don't trust, right? And yeah, I think with all of these fears in place, it can often paralyze people to then just want to hide away from those fears, right? There are many times I feel like I'm trying to avoid those fears, and I would say a lot of escapism comes from that. When we're afraid, we can often go towards our bad habits, right, as well. Yeah, how have you guys handled that fear that you just shared, or other fears throughout your life? How do you normally deal with it?
Yeah, actually, I mean, you touched upon a really interesting topic, the fear of friendships, actually. When you were describing this, I kind of realized that my biggest fear, I think, 2 years ago, was friendships, for sure. And it's not just a fear, but like anxiety that I cannot really have friends. And I think it's very. So I'm in my third year of university, and this was happening when I was in my last year of high school, and that was just crazy because I think for me it was difficult to make friends at school. I had friends at church, actually, which is always very nice, actually. I had a Robert, but the the thing was that our thinking is similar. Our values are quite similar, and that's why, in some sense, it was easier to make friendships. But it was very difficult to make friendships with people whose value systems are different. And I really wanted to have that, actually, but just somehow I was unable to do it. And I remember that um, when I realized that it's so important for me, that's when I became so anxious about it. Oh my God, I have to do something about it. But it was already the last year of high school, and it was very difficult already because these kind of cliques already formed in school. And of course, I had people around me, but I it was difficult to make those actual friendships. And and I remember that since I was a person who did many things, or who did some kind of interesting thing, it's very always interesting to be in church and go on international projects and stuff. So for me, that was like kind of the thing that, oh, so I need to be an interesting person so that people will like me. And honestly, that wasn't really the right mindset to make friends, and it created a fear that I'm not really good enough for people to be friends with. And for the first time, it changed when I changed my environment. So obviously, I finished high school, and so I went on, and since then, now thinking back, it was extremely stressful to have this kind of fear of friendships. But after having experiences with good people, with both of you actually as well, and with some other people as well, this fear completely kind of disappeared, which is so interesting. the fear of friendships. Like I really don't have that anymore. But it used to be such a big thing in my life, and I really feel kind of free without that, honestly. And
Mm.
it's so important. Like I'm so much happier because I did the necessary steps of opening up to people, trying to make friendships and initiating. And I think anyway, you asked this question as well. So what are the daily things that you can do? And for me, this was it because this was one of the biggest challenges to actually make better friendships and to initiate first. Initiate something that okay, let's hang out, let's do this, let's do that. Um, yeah, and it's quite a simple solution actually. But I guess sometimes the solutions towards these kind of fears are not that complicated. It just has to be kind of faced, and then I feel at peace. I really feel at peace. So yeah, I just found this very interesting that I actually used to have this so much, and now it's way different. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely an interesting topic, and I feel like for me personally, how I look at it, or the thoughts I had when I started thinking about courage, is actually that courage is not that, and this is often said in high noon, that courage is not that you don't have any fears anymore, but you're just gonna act in spite of those fears. And I feel like another thing that can really help, or that helped me a lot, is just having conviction in what I do, in the thing I'm fighting for, or the thing I'm striving for. Because many people know that I'm very open about my faith. I was very vocal, and I did some public things as well, you know. And a lot of people ask me like, where did I find the courage for it? How did I, manage to do it? And I think it really came down to me just being so sure in what I believe in, me just being so convinced that what I'm doing is correct, even though, of course, I felt nervous. I felt like, I'm gonna open up in front of the world, and I did get a lot of all kinds of reactions, because of it. But I feel like because my reasoning was really, I'm doing this because I feel it in my heart that I want to do it, and I'm really convinced that this is the right path for me to take, and I have this conviction, then that courage comes easily. That courage to make that step comes easily because you're doing what is right in your heart. And I think that is what really helped me, because I'm not that brave in life when it comes to other simple things. Like, for example, uh, we had I'm now because I'm in my fourth year, I checked, how many credits I have, so that I could finish the studies, and I see that I'm lacking a bit, so I need some extra credits. So I was looking for a subject that is in the evening, that is online, and the only thing that popped up was Chinese language. And so I this semester I'm learning Chinese. And when I tell you, like, I was on a lesson and my turn was to say something, and I was not really prepared to say anything. And he was just calling me out by name, and I had to do something. My heart was pumping, and all of a sudden I had no courage at all to do anything. Of course, still I somehow managed to, answer and slide through. But anyway, in that moment, my heart was pumping more than it was pumping when I'm at show speed, like, to be completely honest. So I feel like courage, it really comes from just having this conviction in what you're doing, why you're doing it. Because when you don't really have a goal, when you're not really sure about what you believe and about what your values are, about what you're striving for, then taking that step of courage will be hard, because in the back of your mind you're not really sure why are you doing it, why do you want to be, why do you want this courage, and why do you want to act this way. So I feel like a lot of it, at least for me, comes from just conviction in what I do. When I have clear understanding in what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, then for me it's not that hard really to make those steps of courage. So that's my view on it.
Mm. It's nice to hear that these kind of simple things, how you guys can overcome those daily fears. Uh, I think the topic today being Lionhearts, I think there's many people I would hope who are kind of thinking, oh, I want to be braver, so let's see what this YouTube video is about, what this YouTube live stream is about. And for those who know us, I think the three of us have kind of built a reputation over the last couple of years of being very public with our faith. You know, we go up and we give a lot of talks, and you know, we organize big workshops like you guys did in the summer. And you know, we try our best as guys to take responsibility. I think that's something that I think we can also say that defines the three of us guys, and that's what I like about you two as my close friends. Is you're guys that inspire me. You take responsibility, and that inspires me to want to take even more courage and even more responsibility myself. But yeah, like you said, Robert, the reality is we're still afraid of a lot of things. Being courageous is not having any fear. It's having a lot of fear and still overcoming it, right? I think people would be surprised to know that I actually have quite a fear of being on stage and public speaking. Still, I get butterflies almost every time I have to do any public speaking, but I enjoy it. And that's why, and normally I'm quite passionate about what I want to talk about, which is kind of the driving force. Like Robert, you said that clarity of your faith is what encourages you to talk about it with people. For me, it's normally the clarity of the thing I'm talking about that empowers me to want to give it well whenever I have a mic in my hands. So yeah, I think just to let everyone in this live stream know, we can be scared little cats sometimes. You know, honestly, we there's a lot of scary things in the world. I can say for myself. But yeah, actually, there's 10 people watching this live stream right now. Let us know who you are. Where are you calling from? I'd love to know. I'd love to know.
Have up some W's in the chat, man.
Get some of those in the chat, please, guys. I want to know who's watching. And yeah, please send in any questions at any time. This is an interactive live stream, so we want to hear questions from you. And if you want to share as well, maybe what scares you and how you overcome your fears, I'd love to hear that. We have a Lithuanian in the chat, Kestutis.
Yeah.
Very nice. Very, very nice. Okay, well, actually, we've already kind of dabbled in this question already, but we want to talk about how we've demonstrated courage in our lives, because we can't be sitting here talking about courage unless we've actually demonstrated some courage in our lives. So I know that you guys have been very courageous in recent years. So what are some things that you can share on this live stream about how you really took a scary opportunity face on and showed true courage? Let's hear some stories from you.
I have a story to share. So I don't know how many people know, but I'm a CARP leader, so a young adults community leader in my country. And honestly, if I think about courage, like this is the thing that comes to my mind all the time because this is the most recent thing, and it's a bit of a different topic because it's about responsibility as well, especially if it's a community thing. So I'm responsible for others. It was tricky, but okay. So let me explain the story, I guess. So the whole way our carb chapter started in Hungary was that for many years it didn't exist because it simply stopped, and I wanted to recreate it together with another brother in Hungary. And well, some people agreed with us that it would be good to start, but some people disagree with us, and I had to obviously decide that okay, so what do I want to do? Do I still go on thinking that yes, this is important or not? And anyway, I knew that it was important to do something as young adults, so as programs for above 18 years old for our members in our church, and so I was sure that that's something good, and I was sure that one of the ways to do it is through carp. So I decided, okay, let's do it through carp, and then we started organizing events and stuff, and some of them were successful, some of them were a bit less, but people always came. And still, after half a year, many people very much doubted whether the thing that we're doing or the thing that I'm leading basically is good or not. And I was actually really scared because you know, I do realize at some point that, okay, so we can go on, but are we doing a good thing though? Are we, am I saying the good things to people? Because it's about influencing people's faith and lives as well. If I go to the stage and speak about a topic, right? If I start preaching or give a lecture, am I saying the right thing? And the reason why I was unsure is because some people told me that I'm doing one of the greatest things ever, and some others were saying to me quite the opposite. And opposite meaning be careful what you say, and maybe it's better if you, you know, take it a bit slower and these kind of stuff. And yeah, that was the situation. It was, and I remember there was one events that we did, a hike actually, um, around 1.5 years ago or 1 year ago. And on that hike, not a lot of people came, actually, around 7 to 8 people. We usually have double. And I remember that that was kind of the turning point for me. That, okay, so do I want to continue this? Why not? Do I want to still keep on doing programs where the community can gather the youth, the young adults? And because I still had this thing in my head that is it good or is it bad? And at some point, I kind of realized that if people are coming and if people are very much positive about it, then I need to go on because I see that of course it's not perfect. It's also it could be way better actually, but people loved coming and people start building new friendships together and building new things, and that's when I kind of for the first time realized that okay, I need to be courageous, I need to be brave, and I need to go on no matter what. And it's an important point. It doesn't mean that I shouldn't listen to others. It's very important that okay, it's not like I turn away completely from one side and just listen to the people who praise me, because that's also not really good. Um, but to have this kind of actual conviction, as Robert said before, have this clear conviction that what I'm trying to do is good and my goal is good, and then just go on, just really move forward. And yeah, that was a big lesson for me, honestly. That was something that kept me going so much after that that I didn't really even question whether the whole thing that we're doing is good or not, because I knew that it was good, and I saw, and the reason why I knew that is because it started developing. And I think sometimes this is one of the best indicators. Just look at the results, what I'm doing. Am I helping people strengthen their faith, or is it making them doubt things? Um, and I realized that, yeah, it's helping people. So I should go on. I should go on and then, yeah, face all the fears that we have. And then actually at some point it was so funny. We went fundraising for the first time, and that was so scary because I did it for the first time. But I knew that I have to do it. I have to do it in order to break this kind of ice. And when when we went, that was last year, and if I knew that if I break this ice, if I break the fear in myself, and I just push myself to do it, the next time people will follow me because I already broke that ice. And naturally, the reason why I did this was not because so that people can follow me, but because it was actually important. But I kind of understood this thing that, yeah, if I am brave, that shows something to people as well. And yeah, so for me, honestly, this was one of the, yeah, biggest things that I had to do recently, that is connected absolutely to bravery. That sometimes people are not going to support you, what you do. And of course, I have to double check whether the thing that I'm doing is good or not. But if I'm sure that it is good, because I can see that it's good, the results, the fruits are good, then I have to be conscious what voices lead me in my head. And yeah, that was very important for me. And that's why growth happened. And that's why now it's a very different chapter, carp chapter that we have. It's very successful. It can still grow naturally. It's still on the process of growing, but clearly things are going well. Something is going well. So, and for me, it took a step on that hike or after that hike. um, yeah.
Mm, nice. It's nice to see that, even though there's a lot of fear attached to that, being a person who takes responsibility and leads by example in your community, at a time where maybe things felt really challenging to start something very new in your faith community, then actually to go through with that and to lead by example, I think is really, it's a good influence. I really think people can look at that and go, I want to do something like that. I want to start something in my own community. I want to take responsibility. So yeah, thanks for sharing that story. Over to you, Robert.
Okay. I'm gonna go next. Of course, I think everyone knows the one story, so maybe I'll skip through the I Show Speed story because it's already very well known, and I don't know, you can watch it somewhere probably.
For
But
those in the world who have no idea, what did you do, Robert?
okay, shortly, for those who don't have any idea, there was a moment when I Show Speed came to Lithuania, and I met with him. I mean, there's a lot of backstory on how that happened, but let's see, I just met him and I got an opportunity to give glory to Holy Mother Han in front of his whole audience of then, I think, 117,000 people were watching. But, to me, that wasn't really because it was something that actually I built up. So when that moment came, I didn't need courage because I already made that step in my head before. So maybe that's where I'm gonna go back into the story of when it actually happened, the desire to make that step. So it actually all began when I was 18 years old, and I just finished basketball school, and my whole life from 13 to 18, or no, from 11 to 18, I really wanted to become a basketball player. And I was very public about that. I was telling everyone that I will be playing in the NBA, and there's no doubt in my mind I'll be the best, the greatest, and stuff. And I was telling that to everyone, my parents and stuff. And as years went on, as I kept some medical issues kept coming to me, like an asthma attack, which took out like 3 months of me training. Then I had my appendix cut. Then I had back injuries that set me off for 1.5 years. Then I had many ankle sprains, and it just kept setting me back until I'm already 18. I finished the basketball school and I already have my diploma. And then now we have practice, and it's like 5 people coming, 4 people coming, and it's basically like I'm like, what am I doing here? I mean, there's no competitions anymore. It's just 4 of us, playing basketball basically for fun. And so I didn't see any more any path there. And at that same time, I started going to track and field mostly because my brothers went there, and also I wanted to get physically stronger, and I thought that track and field can help me become more athletic for basketball. But as I started going to practice, I started really enjoying it, and I started feeling like, this is actually something that is really in tune with my character, because as a person I'm more of a solo player. I'm more of a, I just bulldoze by myself to some kind of path. It's hard for me to unite a team and then go with them together. I'm more of this like one-on-one, or like a, yeah, like a single type person who just bulldozes everything. And it really kind of matched my character, that everything I put in I get. I don't need to trust that everyone else will put in their work. I just need to trust myself that I will put in my work and I will get the benefits. And so it came to a point where I was in my mind like, okay, what do I do? Do I switch? Do I say to everyone that, oh, I'm actually not going to be a basketball player anymore, even though I promised to everyone, even made some bets with people. And and it was a really hard decision for me because I felt like I will let down people. I will just look like a fraud in front of people. Because one thing I hate is like giving up on something, like letting go of something, and basically showing to people that they were right, that that I won't be able to do it. And that was really hard for me. And I remember when I needed to call my coach, the basketball coach, when I needed to tell my parents about that, it was so hard for me to actually do it. But of course, eventually, I intuitively felt so strongly that I need to go there. My intuition was telling me that I need to go to track and field. I need to go to sprinting, but it was really hard to make that step. But yeah, eventually I did it, and the rest was really just history. How much I managed to achieve in that very short period after that was really mind blowing for me, because in basketball, maybe many don't know, but I lost like 97% of the competitions I went to. Our team was absolutely garbage. Like, we would lose almost every game, and I'm a super competitive person. And for me, that was just hell. Just losing everything was so bad. And every time coming home to your parents ask, "So did you win?" "No." "Did you win?" And it was so hard. And but I stick through it. I went until the end. And then in track and field, I came and I instantly became one of the fastest people in my age group, and started going to all these kind of Baltic championships, and even won first place in the relay and stuff. And a lot of success started coming. And then after around a year of doing track and field, almost 2 years of doing track and field, all of a sudden I get this revelation, that I need to use this sport to proclaim the at that moment it was just the only begotten daughter of God. There was still at that time no term Holy Mother Han, but I got this like calling, and I felt like I need to proclaim it to the world. I need to do it. And uh, and this is like kind of a John the Baptist mission. And we all know from the Bible that John, he failed in his mission, because at the end of Jesus' life, he started losing faith in his own calling and in Jesus' calling. And I thought to myself that, okay, since I feel like I have this responsibility, then I need to claim it. I need to really, I cannot, just be quiet. I need to claim it in order to restore the mistake that John the Baptist did when he just lost faith. And so I decided, okay, I will tell to people that, I will do this mission. I will do it. And that season, I just completely failed in that season. Like, not in proclaiming, but just in my results. It was terrible. It was worse than my season before. And I was, but still, after every competition, I would give glory to the only begotten daughter of God, and to Heavenly Parent. I would always write this in my posts and my stories, even though my results weren't worthy of, I feel like weren't worthy of. I didn't feel comfortable like saying all glory to only begotten daughter, all glory to Heavenly Parent, when my results were like very bad. But I still did it because I felt like I need to set a foundation for God to see that I will do it no matter what. No matter what kind of situation I'm in, I will never be afraid to give glory to the only begotten daughter of God and to God Himself, of course. And I did it. I did it again and again and again. Even though my results were not good, I did it, and I kept this kind of promise to God. And then eventually, in November, that's when I Show Speed was looking for people to race. And of course, that was the only day I had an off day, because I had a competition the next day. And I just accidentally went on YouTube, and while I was eating, I was just looking for something to watch, and just his stream popped up for me, and I clicked it, and I'm just, oh, he's looking for people to race. I quickly joined his Discord. I wasn't even on his Discord because I don't really follow him that much. And I quickly joined. I quickly put my video. 10 seconds later, he's reacting to my video. And after he reacted to my video, he didn't react to any more videos after that. And that was like the first moment. And after that happened, actually, I have a story on Instagram that I posted 4 days later after that happened, where I told that this will be my opportunity to give glory to the only begotten daughter of God. And actually, that at that time, I started a condition, and it was November 15th. It was November 15th when that happened, and then exactly 8 months later, on July 15th, that is when I met iShow Speed, and when I got that opportunity to proclaim the only begotten daughter of God and Holy Mother Han. So it really was a long path actually towards this. It wasn't like in that moment I got the idea and then I just did it. It was something that built from actually me joining track and field, I feel like, because me joining track and field was also a turning point in my sexual integrity as well. Like, even though it might seem not connected, but it was also a turning point in that sense as well, because at one point, like right after I joined track and field, I just got injured. I pulled both of my hamstrings at the same time. I don't know how that even was possible, but I pulled both of them. And I remember sitting after that competition and just crying and thinking, like, God, like, why are you not helping me? Why are you not taking care of me? Why is my path so hard? Why do I have to suffer so many injuries, so many things? Why can't I just pursue something and just get it? And at that time, I heard a voice in my head is, how loyal are you to God? Does God have foundation to work with you? And at that time, I started reflecting about my actions, about the fact that I was still addicted to pornography. I was still addicted to uh, masturbation. And at that time, I thought, man, I'm really not giving my all to God. And that is when I decided, okay, I want my life to be proof to God that I believe in Him. And that was really the turning point from when I started gaining my sexual integrity and when I started just putting my life in order as well. So actually, that moment with I Show Speed was kind of like a pinnacle of all the efforts that I put in before, long before that happened. And of course, I don't think this is actually the final thing with I Show Speed. I think I'm gonna do even bigger things in regards to that. And you know, I still I gave the seed. I feel like I planted the seed, but I still need the tree to grow. So there's definitely more steps to make, but it was definitely something that was slow build until that point, until that moment. So yeah.
Hmm. Nice, really good story. Thank you for sharing. There's someone in the chat, shout out to Arata, who's asking how to find the clip, how to find that clip that you sent to iShow Speed.
I think you can go on my YouTube channel. Shout out Robbie the Goat. I think you should find something there. Yeah, it should be in the shorts section, or there's actually a whole video. That's even better. It has like 100,000 views, so it's pretty blown up. So yeah, I suggest checking that video out. There's also some behind the scenes, footage.
Yeah. No, it's really beautiful to see how you really surrendered to God. You really not just accepted God's support and giving your life to God, but also proclaiming proudly wherever you went. Even as you were saying, you felt like you failed when your team in basketball lost a game, or you felt like things were not going your way. You still chose to put God first, to thank God for every moment you have. And I think it's so easy to blame God sometimes for your mistakes, or why is it this way? But you didn't, and that's, I think that shows courage for sure. In a sense, overcoming your own doubts, right? So yeah, I hope that people can feel inspired by that. Yeah, actually, we're going to have a Q&A after in a few minutes. So if you want to send any questions in the chat, please do. But for now, I want to briefly share, I guess, something from my side. So for me, I mentioned earlier in this live stream that I had this fear of being a failure, right? Or this fear of not being liked or loved by the people around me, right? And so there's probably not more scary things to do than to share about your failures in front of a lot of people, which I happen to have been doing for the past 2 years, actually, is going around traveling to different countries and sharing some very vulnerable stories with sometimes absolute strangers, or even harder, people that I actually like and care about, yeah, I think it's not easy for anyone to I guess compromise your reputation. And it's not like I had an amazing reputation before, but growing up in this church community, you want to look like you're doing the right thing. You want to look like you're a godly person, right? And I've always had that expectation of myself. I really want to look like I'm doing well and that I'm clear with my faith. But reality is it's more challenging than that. And again, regarding sexual integrity, as Robert just mentioned as well, I can totally relate with feeling like things can only improve once you actually face those shadows. And so I had to learn how to be honest about my own struggles with sexual integrity, with porn and masturbation. And I guess being a volunteer for High Noon at the time when I started 2 years ago, it kind of, in a sense, gave me a platform where I had to be honest about these shadows as I was trying to advocate this lifestyle, but also more intimate parts of my story as well. And I want to plug the core program. Actually, I'm going to put the registration in the chat actually right now, because if you haven't heard, the core marriage prep program starts on November 9th. So I'd love for you all to consider joining. But yeah, so I was, at the time I was running the core program, we had just started the program. We had, I think, about maybe 40 or 50 people internationally on this program. And we have a group chat that we use in this program where we discuss various topics. And it was there that for the very first time, I decided to be honest about my story with my mental health and my near suicide story, which I know a lot of people in my church community have heard by now. But a big fear of mine was that if I told people that story, then my reputation would be the guy that was a bit of a failure, the guy that struggled with his integrity, and the guy that nearly decided to end his life. Like, it's not something to brag, like most guys, they want to brag about all the good qualities they have or all the good accomplishments, whereas this is like the lowest of the lows. This is very much the low point of my life, and to share that with people is, as you can imagine, not easy. So I remember the first time I sent a message in that group chat basically explaining that story. There was a lot of fear that went into that, but I really felt, okay, if I'm going to truly live this life of High Noon, living a life without shadows, and if I'm truly going to also represent this lifestyle, I should really show the world who I really am, not just the person that I pretend to be, right? So I ended up sharing that story on that group chat, but that was just the beginning. After that, almost every country that I visited, I was then encouraged to share that story with sometimes strangers, with sometimes people that I knew kind of were anticipating the High Noon team coming. And I was, from my perspective, because I have great admiration for our senior High Noon team members, people like Benji and Sammy and Andrew, who've been working for High Noon for many years, and they really kind of have their life together a lot more now. Most of them are parents, they have amazing relationships, and there's something they can really offer to the world in terms of experience and many victories in their lives. Whereas I didn't have really a victory to share, or so I thought. That I'm sharing instead something quite difficult, something as difficult as mental health and struggles with that. So yeah, you can imagine the nerves I would have had, those butterflies in my stomach every time I was standing up there with a mic and sharing my suicide survival story. And to the point now, I've given it so many times to our community that I think almost everyone in the European church, in our church community, have probably heard that story. I remember giving it online as well. I think we have these. For those who don't know what a chombo is, we have these vigil prayers where we all gather together online or in person to pray together in unison, and we often hear testimonies during those live streams for those prayers. And I was asked to share that story during one of those prayer meetings as well, online. And I was in Camberg at the time. I was in Germany, and I shared there, knowing that probably 600 people would be watching that, and many more after the recording is out. But at that point, I already felt like already the muscle of overcoming that fear had grown, so it didn't feel as scary anymore. Quite earlier in this live stream, Marco, you were mentioning how just practicing being more open with people and approaching people, suddenly that fear becomes less and less, right? So all of a sudden, even though sharing this very vulnerable story of mine in front of 600 people online came up, and that could seem to be a very terrifying thing for most people, I already at that point, I'd given it to so many people and I shared it with so many people, and the response I always got was not, "Oh, this is such a, you know, a failure. This is not a guy that is worth trusting." Actually, I always got the opposite. I got so much love and I got so much appreciation, and people would always come to me and say, "Thank you for sharing that story. I can relate so much. I'm glad that somebody is talking about it finally," right? And that really opened my eyes to the fact that actually being vulnerable about yourself and your shadows and your mistakes in life, of course, there's going to be people that judge you. There's always going to be people out there that judge, but also you could receive so much love and grace. And also internally, I felt so much happier knowing that I wasn't hiding this part of myself, that the world knew, in a sense. Not the whole world, but people in my circle knew. And so, yeah, I feel like sharing the story with people has allowed me to be myself. And I hardly ever get anyone come up to be like, "Oh, you're the suicide guy," right? I don't get that. I don't get that at all. People don't seem to associate that with, which is what I thought. My 18-year-old self thought maybe I'd just be associated as the suicide guy for the rest of my life. But no, I have now incredible relationships and incredible, there's so many people that I can call my brothers and sisters wherever I go throughout the world. And that topic doesn't seem to be a part of my life anymore. My mental health is in a good place. I'm living a really exciting life. Not an easy life, but one that has courage. I feel like I've been able to take courageous steps in trying to be an honest person. So yeah, I feel like that's been a very real experience for me, is actually receiving so much love and so much grace by taking that courageous step in being very honest with people. So yeah, I'd love to hear some questions in the chat. If there's any questions you have for Marco, for Robert, for myself, I'd love to answer. But actually, again, plugging the core program, I really want to promote this program as much as possible. We have a 6-week cycle of core coming up next month, and it's a special opportunity for all of us to be courageous in taking steps in our matching and blessing journey. And so I do want to ask you guys, on this matching and blessing journey that we're all on as singles, what are some of the courageous steps that you're taking right now or have taken in the past?
Okay, maybe I can start so avoid that quietness. I think probably the biggest step for me was, I think, opening up to my parents. That was definitely a step that required a lot of courage, because even though it might seem like your parents should be the easiest people to open up to, they literally, saw you from birth to until now, but to some degree, there's so much worry whenever you think of opening up to your parents, especially about things that they might not really like to hear. I definitely had this moment with my father where that was actually one of the also steps that required most courage out of me. I was literally like, I was in the kitchen, I was shaking. I was already 21 at that point. It was 2020, I think it was 2024. I think I was already 21 years old, and I was shaking. I was gasping for air because I was so afraid to talk to my dad, because the thing that I wanted to talk about was something that had such a long build up, and it was such a deep thing in my heart that it was scary. And I remember at that time I was sitting in the kitchen, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to start. My father wasn't in the room at that point, but he was in another room. But I needed to call him somehow. But I was full on just in a breakdown, And at some point I said, okay, I will I will say quietly that. I just said it quietly, that, even though he didn't hear it, but I just said it. And then I said it another time, but a bit louder. I said, Dad. And I kept going until I loudly shouted, Dad. And I don't know why it went until the point where I needed to really loudly say Dad, where everyone in the house heard. But it- I feel like it's also some kind of like a, build up for the story. But yeah, but then my dad came, and then I had a really deep talk with my dad about my childhood, about my past, about how I feel towards him, about our relationship, and don't really have time to go into it, but it was really something very deep inside me that that made me not really have a relationship with my dad for a very long time, like a very surface level, because of what happened when I was very young. And eventually, yeah, I managed to do it, and then that also led to me just being able to open up to my parents more and more every time, and that has been really important for my matching and blessing journey, because it really, if you want to have a good matching journey, if you want to have a good blessing journey, your parents are really the key to that. And the more unity you can find with your parents, the better, the more open your relationship with your parents, the easier your path will be towards matching and blessing. But it's definitely a hard step to take. But I always, yeah, want to encourage people to take that step, to talk to your parents, because they will really guide you in your, because they're the ones that love you the most, and they will truly let you know when you're doing, when you're going not really the right way in regards to your matching, and when you're doing maybe the wrong steps, and they will always tell you honestly, and they will be honest with you because they love you. So that's definitely what I would say, yeah, in my journey.
Yeah, actually, for me, it's something very similar. Um, and I think this is where courage comes in the most, if it comes to matching and blessing preparation, is to be vulnerable for the people who are close to me. I think that's one of the hardest things, and that's kind of what I realized, that sometimes telling my problems and issues to people who don't really know me, it's not that hard. Um, but especially to my close ones, and actually a little bit connecting to the thing that I said before. Since I came to a leadership position in my community, I also felt that I have to meet expectations, kind of, that I need to have things figured out. I need to be the person who knows things. I need to be completely clear and almost not even making mistakes in my life. And that, I don't think that's really a healthy way that I was thinking about this. And of course, if I'm in a leadership position, of course something can be expected of me, right? That's completely natural. But I'm also a human being, and that's something I realized at some point as well, that I need to open up to the people who are close to me. And yeah, as Robert said, parents, that's one of the, I think also, yeah, that's one of the hardest things to do because they're so important for us, actually. I would say siblings, that's also something very, very difficult. But friends as well. And I think if people, or when I opened up to people who, in a sense, I am leading, they kind of realize that, oh, he's a normal guy actually, just taking responsibility. And that's something I think it was a very important lesson for me as well. That yeah, if I come to a position like that, I still need to be connected to people. And yeah, that's what I've been doing many times. That's what I did with you, David, as well, so many times. And it's very healing to do that, to really just open up. I always remember the conversations that I had with Robert, the conversations that go for so long into the night. um, Everyone needs that, really. I think everyone needs that. I very much needed it and still need it, and I will always need it no matter what I do in my life, actually. So yeah, I think, and this is one of the best ways, as I see as of yet now, maybe to prepare for matching and blessing. is to really be able to open up. Because then things, I guess for me it was easier to solve things if someone else also knows about what I'm going through. Um, so yeah, definitely staying connected, and this is actually one of the biggest mottos of High Noon, and it's so wise and it's so important, and I agree with it so much. Actually, it doesn't solve everything if I just tell my things to people, but at least I'm not alone. And if I'm not alone, then things can change. So shout out for High Noon for that message.
Yeah, beautiful, brother. Beautiful. I think my response is very similar to yours as well. Just really being honest about my life to others. I would say this is maybe more peeling back the layers a little bit, but kind of the fear of putting in the work and maybe delaying your what you think is like temporary joy. Right? I think so many of us who are on this matching and blessing journey, we of course have these standards that are pretty high. They're pretty good standards, to be honest, to have real purity and really have be in a good place in your life before you start a relationship. And if I look around at relationships in this day and age in 2025, it's so messy. Hardly anyone is able to keep that, keep a true strong married relationship down. And it's so heartbreaking that literally there's a lot of heartbreak for people before they turn 18. They've probably already experienced 2 or 3 relationships that have broken up, or a lot of difficulty. And it really does pain me to see that something which is supposed to be so sacred and so godly and so beautiful is actually the cause of so much pain and suffering in this world right now. And then people try to bury that empty pain with material things, and try to escape that pain. But it can also be quite a struggle for people like us who are really striving for more and really want to prepare ourselves well before marriage, but feel lonely and feel like, are we ever going to make it? Are we ever going to live up to this expectation, the standard? And the temptation can be to lie and to hide your mistakes in the hope that you can find your spouse quicker and you can find true love quicker if you just don't share a few little details about how much porn you're watching or what mistakes you've made in your life. On paper, it seems simple, right? Like, as long as people don't know about my struggles, I can find a spouse, right? And I can put my hands up and say that temptation is there all the time. Like, if I just hide my shadows, no one will know, and I can hopefully find true love quicker. But as Robert has demonstrated with kind of accepting God in his life and good things working for you because of that, I can really see that when you hide those shadows, and you really don't open up with anybody, they always come back to bite you later. And yeah, for sure. So being honest about my mistakes, even if it means having to wait longer to find a spouse, or to invite your parents to know truly how you're doing, even if you want to look like you're doing better than you really are. But yeah, of course, on the long term, being honest with the people in your life and really putting in the right work would hopefully bring about a much better future. And I'm seeing it now. I'm seeing how so many of our good friends, actually our friends in Europe, have been receiving the blessing recently, or have recently got matched to their new engaged partners. And it gives me so much hope that by doing things the right way, God can work with that and they can find their true love. So that's definitely a fear that requires a lot of courage, is to be honest about your mistakes. So yeah, actually we have one question in the chat that I want to show. So, hey Yulia, good to see you. Who is someone you admire for their courage and why? Let's keep this quick. Is there someone you guys admire for their courage? Apart from Aragorn from the Lord of the Rings, who is a true masculine role model.
I can go first. It's actually Robert. It's you, man, because it was such a motivational thing. Whenever I saw you be courageous and brave about your faith, and also, not just seeing you, but also being close to you, it definitely influenced me in the right way. And I know that the steps I made in my life were definitely influenced by that. And yeah, just say what you believe in. Say and really, if you know that it's something good, be brave about it and really share it. For me, that was yeah. Of course, I know that that's important, but he's doing it, so I want to do the same thing. And yeah, that's why.
Yeah, I have to say thank you for that. Wow, I mean, yeah, this is actually something that makes me keep doing it and keep going. Whenever people say that, it just, yeah, it gives me so much more energy and power to continue on this path. Yeah, so thank you. And I think, of course, I would shoot the same thing back as well. I mean, you and David as well, the way you're also pushing, because we're a very small community, and from the outside we might seem as like, like these crazy people that are in some kind of cult, and who knows what they're doing and why are they so passionate about it. And it really takes a lot of courage to be able to put yourself out there, to be this kind of, black sheep amongst white sheep, and just sticking out in front of people. It's never easy, because then you can get a lot of judgment. And I'd say maybe another person, I, I think my dad, just seeing him, how much responsibility he puts on his shoulders, how much risks he puts on his shoulders, and goes with it. It really also gives me a lot of, definitely, strength to continue on what I'm doing as well, because I want to continue his legacy, and I want to, yeah, show to people how great my dad is by doing great things myself. So yeah, that's my answer.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, you guys do inspire me. I do admire you a lot, and many of our friends, they really do admire me, especially the ones that take responsibility, because it's not easy and it requires a lot of courage. But actually, I've been really inspired by my younger brothers and sisters in my community recently. We had a huge program in Korea this year that many people attended, and actually quite a lot of younger brothers and sisters in my community went from the UK, and they all gave testimonies over the past couple of months for Sunday service. Every Sunday service, we'd ask one of the youth to share a testimony. And I mean, I'm a young person. I'm 20 years old, but I felt slightly old when the 16 and 17-year-olds were sharing about their testimony in Korea. And some of them, it was the very first time they've ever shared a testimony to the whole congregation. And our community is quite large, actually. We normally have about 60 or 70 people on a Sunday service. And these teenagers that I've grown up with as like my younger brothers and sisters, they were sharing their testimonies. And they were quite nervous, but they really poured their heart out. Some of them were crying when they shared such beautiful moments that they had with God when they were in Korea. And I was so proud of them. I was so proud of them. So shout out to Kai, William, Brendan, Hannah, Sonia, all those wonderful brothers and sisters I have in my community who shared their testimonies recently. It filled me with a lot of hope, actually, that is not just the three of us in this call, for instance, that are taking responsibility, but we have others that want to really rise up and proclaim their love of God. And that for me was really beautiful, actually. So yeah, I'd say that. Unfortunately, we have to wrap up this live stream. I wish we could talk for another 2 hours, but it's always fun to chat with you guys. It really is. Again, I just want to let you know that High Noon is providing the core program. Registration is here. Yeah, please join in this opportunity to end this year in a courageous way by taking good steps in your marriage preparation. I'd love to see many of you there. Robert, Marco, any words that you can share to encourage some Lionhearts out there in the world?
First of all, I want to see some W's in the chat again. And second, I wanna, on a serious note, I wanna maybe say to Arata, I don't know if that's how his name, what he shared. I just want to say, yeah, don't give up and stay connected. And it's for sometimes we need to take very small steps. So yeah, just don't give up.
All I want to say is, guys, if you want part 3, then let us know.
If we
But
get
yeah, honestly, hmm?
if we get 3 W's in the chat, that's we're doing it
Oh
again.
yes, yes, exactly. But honestly, I think if it comes to courage, maybe in the beginning it doesn't seem like it's worth it, but it will be. And yeah, the small steps, that's one of the most important things. And to keep on going, because it's worth it.
Stay consistent, guys. Stay consistent.
Stay
And Mark,
consistent.
advice.
Exactly. My motto.
Yep. No, thank you. I really see you guys as true Lionhearts. You know, really brave brothers of mine. So let that lion roar. And yeah, thank you for coming on. And I'll see you next time, brothers. See you next time.
See you guys.
Okay. Thank you, everyone who's joined in the live stream. And for those of you who will watch the recording later, I hope that you enjoyed this video. So yeah, remember, courage is not having fear, but facing them, taking responsibility and facing those fears. So lots of love to you. All the best. Take care. Bye.